wonky setup will continue until next week when I actually do move, but for now we're going to give you that technical analysis for the SPY, Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, and Nvidia, and we're going to pay attention to mostly the 1-hour charts that we were talking about yesterday and see if anything new has developed. The overall thing on the SPY we were pointing out is, yes, we are outside of that weekly range, and that's a big deal, especially when you start to see these hourly divergences, which, as of today, has confirmed. Okay, we have confirmed, but I do want to tell you, in order for this not to just be some kind of pullback to then go higher, you need this to start to get into negative territory and start that negative trend that we've been talking about. The other thing on the SPY was, look how important it is that we gap above that weekly resistance level, okay? That upside of the weekly range is going to be as resistance, so it's interesting that the SPY is actually, going above that, gapping above that right away. That way it can't perform itself as resistance, but that just means we might cut through this level like butter if we do start to come back below this. You have your hourly divergence, and if we switch over to the Qs, we can see where are the Qs running into problems right on that weekly move, okay? Right in this weekly move here, we're seeing us start to struggle to go higher, and it looks like that divergence is set in. You got a little confirmation down there on the MACD on the Qs as well, and all you're looking for is this to start that negative trend. So we're really going to be paying attention to that over the next few days as things develop, and we're going to keep going over these hourly charts until I have my full setup back. One stock that I'm really paying attention to, we were talking about Apple, how it wants to come back from this area because we might see some resistance there, but guess what? We actually push into it. Okay, so this second scenario did play out. We saw that turn back around, push upward for one more move, and you can see now we're in this gray zone here, which is that gap resistance, gap fill. This whole resistance right up in here is going to be very important, and we've seen some major sell-offs from this area, and I just want to point that out because it looks like these hourly divergences are starting to add up. And even if we go for one more push, right? If we go for one more push, eventually we will get down into that negative territory and this trend will start. And I think Apple has a good chance of holding up, somewhere in these levels, right? And here at that 180 level, right? But I really think that if this is going to be some, dramatic scare or something, and maybe people aren't comfortable, people think this should go higher at this point. Well, guess what? This could also come all the way back down for a retest. It could come all the way back down to that purple zone before we start to head higher. Little change of pace, Tesla. This was a great little setup for us, okay? So we were pointing this out, and we said, hey, maybe this could dip down one more time in order to come up. But guess what? It breaks through this level, and we see that gap higher, especially with something like CPI data coming out how it did, okay? So now you're getting that perfect retest. That's where you're running into your resistance at this point. And now maybe this is where we start to see some kind of pullback. Maybe we even just fill this gap and test this area of about 222 before we start to head higher. I would just be open to this, but the good part here is you're making a low, a higher low, and you're most likely going to come and make some kind of higher low again and keep this upward trend. Now, Amazon has some steep divergences, and the reason I was paying attention to Amazon is because it's really close to that center line, which is just telling me, hey, this is a stock that's hinting at me, hey, the trend is possibly about to go negative, and if it remains negative, then we can start to see that pullback come to fruition. We didn't retest these levels really, so we could come for a full retest, but I'm still paying attention to that level of about 132. I think 132 is a great level. If all else fails, that 124-ish level, 126 level is very good. But I think that 132 level might hold up in the near future. Nvidia, we did get a little bit of selling into today, but we don't want this to be another scenario where it curls back up. So what I want you to pay attention to here, yes, we have divergences, but we're still in positive territory. So even though I think this thing could reverse as far as tomorrow goes, if we do see this start to cross up one more time, the trend is going to continue, and you're most likely going to test this high or try to come just above it before breaking down. Right now, you're seeing that selling. All I'm waiting for is that negative territory confirmation. One that I want to look at on the daily is the 10-year yield, and you saw that major drop-off yesterday, right? Major drop-off in this, 4% in a day. So today we're actually seeing climb back up almost 2%. Okay, so if this actually does at this point come up into this area here, giving us that, test of this level, kind of like a right shoulder for us. Maybe this was slanted, something like that, plenty of that. You just want to pay attention to, there's like liquidity. You can use that as an argument, right? So this is a good point to test to then make some kind of lower high to head to lower levels in the near future. If we just switch over to TLT, you're going to see a similar story here, but it really looks like, the market was climbing a little bit higher today. TLT actually is dropping off, and we've been getting a bunch of those types of signals throughout this move, right? We've been getting all types of signals like that. And maybe the third time is the charm, right? Maybe this gap down is actually something to pay attention to, and we're going to see this curl down. Whether or not we're actually going to come into this level right here, right in between this, for some good liquidity to pick up, right? Some buyers to step in, or some good news to push the yields down. That's to be determined, because right now, if we do see a big scare, some kind of data come out in the next week or so while there's some selling, then we actually can see this test this high. So it's just two things we want to pay attention to. But I overall believe that these yields are going to start trending down. So I'm leaning towards some kind of move, maybe to fill this gap around $85. And then we start to head higher with TLT bringing down those yields. And the VIX, it's kind of the same story. We're looking for some kind of pop here, just because we've been going up and up and up for so long. We need some kind of pullback here. Now, whether that is just some kind of test of that 200, I really want to pay attention to that. I will also pay attention if we test this little level right in here that we broke through before that big run started, right? We had days and days of this run now. So I do want to pay attention to this. But overall, I do believe we have a chance to come all the way above 20 and then get people really scared out of this market, get some puts back in the market, and then we can flip the script and really start to see this thing get bullish into the end of the year. Okay, so I know these things are a little bit shorter. It's harder to do without your desk set up. I don't know if you guys have ever moved before. It's a pain, right? But the overall takeaway here is we're seeing those divergences. We need to wait for those to get into negative territory, and things like that, because, you know, as long as we remain in that positive territory and just keep curling up, this thing can keep peaking higher. But I do believe the buying is starting to really, really die out at this level, and this might be our, you know, short-term top at this point. Thank you guys as always for watching. I really appreciate it. Liking, commenting, subscribing. You guys are great. I wish you guys have the best luck in the world trading tomorrow, and have a great, great night. All right. Peace.